Public meeting. All right. Call it. So for those of you who haven't met, Catherine Patton is the partner for PKF O'Connor Davies, who are our auditors. And the audit for fiscal year ending June 30, 2024 was completed. You guys have the annual comprehensive financial report, the state single audit, management comments, which are recommendations from the auditors, potential improvements. And then I'd emailed out, anybody who doesn't have it, we should have it in front of you anyway, but I'd emailed out the sheet that Catherine will be going over to kind of summarize the financials. And with that, if nobody has anything, I'll turn it over to Catherine.
Do you want me to share it, or do you all have it in front of you?
It'd be great if you could share it, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Volume's as high as it's at. Oh, yeah.
See the PDF?
We can see it. We're having a little hard time hearing you.
All right, I'll talk up louder. This microphone isn't the best.
That's better.
Is that
Thank
better? You. Okay, so I'm Catherine Patton, the partner in charge of the audit. So I'm just going to start by going through the highlights of the annual comprehensive financial report and the federal and state single audit. One new item for the year was the police retirement plan that was implemented in fiscal 24 that had an initial total pension liability of $7.2 million, which you'll see on the financial statements as a change in benefit terms. And it also had a transfer in from the defined contribution plan of $5.1 million to partially fund that liability. The opinion on the financial statements.
We're gonna need you to really talk louder.
Okay.
Sorry.
The opinion on the financial statements was an unmodified or a clean opinion. Also in the annual comprehensive financial report is the management's discussion and analysis, which is an executive summary of the fiscal year's operations. This shows some budgetary highlights, such as the additional appropriations and transfers from $509,000 from the municipal revenue sharing grant to fund vehicle purchases. And there were also transfers out of fund balance for police station renovations, capital expenditures, local match for grants, and to reduce the impact on the levy. It also shows that your unassigned fund balance was 17.5% of 2024 budgetary expenditures and transfers out. Now, the general fund on a GAAP basis, which is on Exhibits C and D of the ACFR, you had unassigned fund balance of $17.4 million with a net change in fund balance of $614,000. This was primarily driven by the budgetary basis changes. Your revenues were under budget by $1.6 million. Mainly due to property taxes being above budget by $339,000, charges for services above budget by $472,000, primarily the zoning commission and building inspector fees due to several large commercial projects. And income from investments was above budget by $948,000. Your other financing sources included an appropriation of fund balance of $4 million, which includes that $2.7 million of additional appropriations. And expenditures and other financing uses were under budget by $2.9 million. This included the general government, which was underspent by $735,000, primarily the unspent contingency, lower property tax refunds, lower unemployment charges, and some vacant positions. Physical services was $788,000 under budget due to lower refuse disposal fees, the mild winter, and favorable utility costs. Health and Human Services was $321,000 under budget due to lower patient volume, and the schools were under budget by $339,000, primarily due to lower electricity costs and contractual services. Your capital projects fund had a decrease in net position of 3.3 million due to capital outlay during the year, which was a lot of road, bridge, and sidewalk improvements, the police station renovation, and the Biscoglio field improvements. The water and sewer fund, which is an enterprise fund, had an increase in net position of 1.6 million, fairly comparable to the prior year increase of 1.2 million. And the internal service fund had a decrease in net position of 451,000 due to higher than planned medical claims, as compared to the prior year increase of 121,000. The one item to note in the footnotes is the new police defined benefit pension plan that I mentioned. You'll find those footnotes on pages 69 through 78 and the plan statements on pages 91 through 92. For the federal and state single audits, on both of those, we had no findings or question costs. We tested the coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds for the federal. And for the state grants, we tested Open Choice, Urban Act grants, Community Conservation and Development, Town Aid Road, and LOTSIP. You also received the communication with those charged with governance, which discusses our responsibility, which is to form and express an opinion about whether the financials are presented fairly in all material respects. It also discusses that we're independent, that there were no uncorrected misstatements and no material adjustments. We also wanted to point out several new applicable GASB statements that are upcoming. GASB 101 uncompensated absences just updates the recognition and measurement guidance for that liability. We did have a webinar on that in November, and we'll be reaching out in the spring to talk about implementation for 2025. GASB 102 is on certain risk disclosures. This just provides some guidance on government's vulnerabilities on certain concentrations or constraints when those may or may not need to be disclosed. And then GASB 103, the financial reporting model, will be effective for 2026. That just updates guidance on the MD&A for the preparation of that, defining non-operating revenues and expenses for proprietary funds, and then also some changes in the budgetary comparison information and how that's presented. And the last item to discuss is the recommendations from the audit. One recommendation was removed on the water and sewer billings reconciliation, as that's being reconciled now. The two remaining recommendations are on capital assets to inventory the water and sewer assets, and I know the town is working on that inventory. And the other item is on the education, the cafeteria and education grant record keeping, just improving how that is being recorded. And I'm actually going to the Board of Ed tomorrow to talk to them and give some more detailed recommendations on that. So I'm happy to take any questions that you have.
Kevin, in terms of the capital asset, this has been in there for quite a while. That's the same thing every year that it's currently in process. But what's the prognosis here for?
Water Control has about a year and a half ago now hired a consulting firm, Dave Prickett Consulting. Dave has worked with us on a number of projects, retained his firm to do a full inventory of the assets. We are waiting for the final report on water. As you can imagine, it's a pretty significant undertaking because not only are there substantial assets, but many of those assets are underground. So it's trying to assess pipes and other things like that. So we are expecting water anytime, and they have also now turned their attention to trying to work on the sewer part.
On the state single audit, again, Kevin, there's a $2 million program, community conservation development. What primarily is being funded by that program?
Where is?
On the state single audit. Page 13. A little past halfway, 1,323,000 expended.
Oh, in this particular year, I believe that is the Skygleo Field. That was through deep athletic facilities. So we had Biscaglio Field, the scoreboard at Sage, which was about a $2.7+ million grant.
I just make a comment. You know, I took a look at all the reports. I think it's a very good report for our finance department. You know, I think knowing the firm of O'Connor and Davies, they do good work. You know, I was glad to see that there were no new comments, issues. You know, with the regulatory situation the way it is with state and federal grants, there's an awful lot that can go wrong these days. There's so many rules. The rules change so often. It's good to see we have no issues cited. So, Kevin, I know you got the certificate again last year for the report. I think your office has done a good job again this year.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, everything he said, you know, bottom line is you've done a great job in your team. And you don't have any gaps here. You don't have any weaknesses. You don't have any deficiencies. I mean, and then the other part of it is, I know it's not part of your, but we have a solid financial position of the town. You've done a great job, you know. We enjoy working with you.
Thanks.
Thank you and your team, and I appreciate the job that the audit group did, Connors and Davies, and then, I mean, there's not much to talk about here. I think I should have stayed home for an hour because now we're stuck here for an
Well, I give a lot of credit to Diane, who stepped in right as the audit was starting to replace somebody for 36 years.
Thank you, Diane.
And I mean, the work was great and completed. I mean, Catherine, I think we were waiting on one legal letter just before Thanksgiving, which is fantastic from a timing standpoint to complete the work for us anyway. I mean, it's nice when you get into December and the audit's behind you, so that was great. And, I mean, I'd also point out the Board of Ed as well. Ashley and the team are doing a good job down there. She's had some retirements and she's worked through those and replaced them with good people. So, any comments online? Any questions? Anything?
The only question I had is that cafeteria, what did they call it? The record keeping, isn't this a recurring problem?
It has been on before. There's been some staffing changes, which I know Ashley's looking for that to help improve the circumstances. And then Catherine, I believe you're going tomorrow to meet and go over this to try to clear that issue for the next audit. Unfortunately, Ashley had a conflict tonight, so she couldn't be here, but I did speak to her earlier today about that.
So I'm hopeful it'll be cleared for next year's audit, since I'm meeting with Ashley tomorrow.
Tim, from my time in the industry, this is a very, very common problem amongst boards of education. They like to keep their books on a cash basis, much easier. So in my mind, it's a problem, yes, because they have to generate accrual financial statements that can't do them easily without adjustments, and using an Excel spreadsheet versus a general ledger is something that us accountants don't like to see too much. But I think when I look at it, my potential levels risk levels are not that high. They are higher because it's a system run by itself through the Board of Education. They don't have the same controls that, some of the other funds might have, but it would be good to see it go away.
Okay.
No, I think there's no other questions. Thank you all for joining. Catherine, thank you once again.
Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you.
Saved yourself a drive.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Get it.
have a good night.
Good night.
Right.
See you at 7 for those of you joining.
You at
See you at
7.
7, guys.
See you at 7.